So you just went to Al Kirshner's funeral.
Yep.
He was 97.
Well, I was glad I went to it. Hadn't seen him. Last time I saw him was last year,
Oh,
and his brother Dick had died some years ago. And I had never met Dick Kirshner's son-in-law, so I met him at the funeral, and I told him that Dick and Alan were the guys that took me turkey hunting for the first time ever, and I got paired up with Dick. So opening day we had made a brush blind, and we were sitting there trying to call turkeys in. Well, there was turkeys all over the place, but it was hard to call them in. And we were on this hayfield, and we saw a turkey coming down along the fence line. I had my binoculars so I could see it was a hen. We couldn't shoot it anyway. This was the spring when you had to shoot a tom. But we were watching that. He was sitting right next to me in this brush blind that we made. We saw that turkey coming, and all of a sudden, the turkey stopped and stretched itself out like a rubber chicken and lay tight on the ground. We were looking. We weren't sure what we were seeing. What the heck did that bird just do? What's wrong with that thing? From our vantage point, we could see it laying on the ground, stretched out, just like someone took both ends and pulled it, laid it down like a rope. We were trying to figure this out, and then all of a sudden, along the fence line going the other way was a coyote. That pheasant saw that coyote, and its first instinct was to just hide. But the alfalfa was only 4 inches high, but it stretched out lower than that. The coyote walked right past between the fence line and that turkey and just kept walking. It was hunting, with its nose in the air, and walked right past that turkey. And once it got past the turkey slowly got up, looked around, just kept walking. Now what the heck was that? Didn't think nothing of it. We didn't get any turkeys close enough. The next morning, we were running late. It was getting late before we can get to start walking to this blind. And it was decided, we'll stop at the bottom on the road. All you have to do is walk this steep ridge up to that, walk a little bit further into that blind. So you'll get there quicker that way than waiting for us to drive all the way around and then walk the other side. I said, okay, I'll go up. So they dropped me off and I walk up. I get to the top. I'm still in the woods. And I could see the edge of the woods where that blind was. And I could see turkeys were already on the ground by this blind. I said, oh man, how am I going to get to that blind without spooking these turkeys? Well, I crawled on the ground and I'm using trees to crawl behind and get to the next one. And it's using a lot of energy I just come up this big steep hill and I'm getting hot. And I slowly got to the blind, but as I did, the turkeys would slowly move away from the blind as I was coming. Well, I got to the blind and the turkeys were out in this hayfield, and there was a slight rise in the middle, and then it fell off a long way to the tree line. I got to that blind and I took my backpack off, I took my jacket off, and I thought about it. I'm just going to run across this hayfield at these turkeys. Once they crested the top, they disappeared. Well, the distance from the top of that to the tree line was tremendous distance. I figured I could run from here to the top of that hill before they would get out of shotgun range. So I took off and I ran. I got to the top and I'm coming over the top. I'm looking at this hayfield, and there's no turkeys. Where do turkeys go? There's no way they got to the tree line before I got up there. They disappeared. And all of a sudden I saw a head poke up out of the hay, like a periscope on a submarine, looking around. I just stood still, and it came up a little higher, and I saw his beard. It was a Jake, legal bird to shoot. He got up, and I sighted on his neck, and I pulled the trigger. Boom! And it looked like that. I totally missed that bird that came up with my gun, the recoil. The bird's flying away. Oh, I shot again, but I was way behind it. It spooked me. And with that second shot, about 15 turkeys come up out of that alfalfa field. The last one is a big tom with a long beard hanging, and it flew past. I'm thinking, oh man, how can I, blow an opportunity like that? Then I noticed a bird flopping down the hill, going down towards the trees. I hit one. How did I do that? So I'm running down to try to stop it from getting to the tree line. And on the way down to the tree line to get this bird, I pass another one dead on the ground. Oh man. Well, the other one was dead too. It was just flopping, like if you cut its head off. It was just flopping. So I got there and I grabbed it, and it was a legal bird. It was a Jake with a little beard. Then I was real depressed. My heart sank. I must have shot a hen. The other one got to be a hen. I went back up and picked it up, and it was another Jake. I had shot 2 Jakes with that first gun blast because there were so many birds on the ground. Luckily, there was a concentration of these young toms. The one that came up with my gun was just another bird that I didn't see. When I shot, they all came up. But from seeing that bird the day before, its first action when it was threatened was not to run, not to fly, but to lay down tight. And I figured what these birds would do if I came over the top, and that's exactly what they did. I didn't know there was that many birds there, though. So I did that at least 2 other times in the following years, to run at a group of birds, and they all hunkered down and sat tight. One time they stayed down tight so I can get within range, and one night they did not.
And you couldn't see them?
You couldn't see them. They were there. I surprised them, they surprised me. I started running towards them. The first thing they did was disappear. They went straight down. It's good. Stay there till I get within range as I'm running. So after that, Dick Kirshner, every time we would go turkey hunting, he would say, "Oh, you brought your gun? Well, you don't need a gun. Don't you run after them?" He would give me stuff every year about running after the turkeys. And I think it was one of the last 2 times, or the last time I hunted with them, turkey hunting. We were all by ourselves one time. He says, I've been giving you stuff all the time about running after those turkeys. I said, yeah. I said, that's okay. He said, well, I didn't tell the other guys, but he says, I've tried that a few times. And he says, it works every time. And I told that to his son-in-law. Told that story to his son-in-law, and he appreciated to hear that.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, but who knew that turkeys do that, right?
I was very fortunate to see that very first time I went out, to see that hen do that. Dick was with me a number of times. In the following years, we would just hunt together. And we would see turkeys then. And one time he stayed on the high ground, I went on the low ground. It was saw this turkey land on a knob in the middle of a corn stubble field. The turkey landed right on top.
Mm.
We could see the sides all the way around that bird. Dick went to the left and I went to the right. And I was younger and a little quicker. I got up to the top of that knob, but I'm standing. I just went through this corn stubble and looking on it. I could see the ground. And Dick was coming. He got close. He didn't want. He was out of gas by the time he got there. He did not want to come all the way out in the middle of that field. He said, "Where'd that bird go?" I said, "Did you see it go your way?" He said, "No." "You didn't see it walking up that hill?" I said, "No." It was too close. It could not have gotten off that field without us seeing it running off of there. I'm looking at the bare ground. It was just corn stubbles, the only thing in the field. I walked around looking. I'm looking at bare ground. There's nothing here. I said, well, maybe I didn't see something. I took a few more steps and that turkey got off the ground right in front of me and flew into the tree.
What?
I was assuming it was a hen. I didn't see a red hen, but it got up and flew straight away, so I couldn't see if it had a beard dragging. But it was a very big bird, extremely big bird. And that thing had to do the same thing that hen did: stretch out and just fade into the ground with the camouflage. I couldn't see nothing. It's almost like magic.
Wow.
And Dick was standing there. He said, "Where'd that bird come from?" I said, "It had to have been laying there." So, a lot of good memories hunting with those guys in Ferryville, Wisconsin, along the Mississippi River.
Mm.
The topography is like this. For me to hunt that nowadays would be pretty tough.
Mm.
You don't want to go down and up too many times. It's a little too steep, a little too far.
Mm.